if your outflow is greater than your inflow, then your upkeep becomes your downfall. So I stole that from a guy named Myron Golden, but you've got to control cash flow, right? So you've got to fix. So our cash flow map, we just break it down. I'm working with a client right now, found me through a show.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to introduce my guest today in my podcast. Curtis May is a financial strategist over 3 decades with the experience working with the business owners, families, and investors. He's specializing in a tax reduction, debt elimination, and a cash flow optimization for an entrepreneur and a high income earners. He's also practicing and building financial education and strategic planning, focusing on delivering measurable results and great results as well. Welcome, Curtis. I'm so happy to have you in my studio. And just introduce yourself your way.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Curtis May from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, born and raised. This is, I hate to say it, this is like my 40th year in the business, but I started young. I was at college and I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards. And okay, I need to do something else. And then I got my licenses to do business my junior year in college, and I've been pretty much doing it ever since. And but basically, I work with families that their goal is work optional income. So they want to be people that find me. They want to become is the operative word, financially free, financially independent. I define as passive income equal to or greater than your expenses, which is your audience. And most of the people that find me believe that their portfolio can outperform the S&P.
Wow, that's a good one. Yes, I work with a lot of investors, and their goal is to have that financial freedom and passive income, in the future. But Curtis, how do you see traditional financing planning? Why it doesn't work for entrepreneurs? Why did it falls to that
Yeah,
different?
so good question. So it's typical financial advice is really designed for employees, right?
Mhm.
And most focus on what I call the accumulation theory, okay? Where they teach you buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out
Right.
of debt, max out your qualified plans, pay your house off early, and you put your money in little silos, little boxes that you can't touch.
Mhm.
And you and so what happens is it's a strategy based on hope. You hope the market goes up. You hope, and so hope is not a good strategy. So that was me for the first good 15 years of my career, right? Then I read a little purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I read another little book called Become Your Own Banker, and that kind of started me down the path I'm on today. But the other side of the game is what I call the velocity method, right?
Okay.
So, which is what I do, right? And so, if you're the velocity method is you kind of want to mimic what institutions do, right? So, what do they focus on? Velocity of money, which is not a product, it's an economic principle, right? So, it's different for different industries, but it's about the movement of money. Money likes speed, money's got to move, right? And so, in real estate, I work with a lot of real estate. Probably half my clients are real estate investors. So it's the Burr method. There's flippers, just buying. There's tons of ways, different ways to do real estate. But what you want is velocity. You want to put money in an asset. If you're burring it, you're buying it, you're refurbishing it, you're refinancing it, and you're buying another asset. That's
So you
velocity.
have to have some flow.
Right. You gotta have flow. You gotta have cash flow, right? Which is the second one. You want flow. So you want cash flow. Typical advice is about investing for capital gains, buying low, selling high, hoping it goes up. But one of my favorite saying is that you can't eat equity, right? Oh, I got this much equity. I got a net worth of this. Well, try going to the supermarket with your statement and see how much you can buy with that, right? So you live on cash flow, right? The third thing they focus on is protection, right? So they play defense. A lot of times when I talk to, I'll get into the principle based planning later, but investors are good at investing, but the rest of their financial house, they're exposed, right?
Mhm.
But let me stay on the so what institutions focus on is protecting their downside risk, right? So they like to insure. And then what I find is they store their capital in permanent insurance products. Like banks buy I don't want to get. I hate getting into products too early. I'm sorry, but it's like they store their liquidity in insurance. It's called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Here's what I found: those same strategies work in personal finance, right?
Okay.
And so you don't do what they tell you to do. You need to do what they do, right?
I
So they
like that.
focus on velocity, cash flow, liquidity, right?
Uh-huh.
They invest in things they understand that will send them a check, right? And so
Mhm.
they don't take risks. Like they most people aren't even investing; they're really gambling, right? And for consumers, and I think that to your audience, that's unacceptable. And you really, I think that you need liquidity, use, and control of your capital, of your money.
Absolutely. That's a
That's
very
what I preach.
point. You know what? I heard a lot about cash flow mapping. This brings me to something that it's very powerful. Flow mapping. If you can explain what does it mean and how it acts almost like a GPS for a business owner for navigating and
Yeah.
in that kind of a competitive market.
Yeah, so cash flow. So it's funny because I have a book come. It should be out by the time maybe this comes out or by June. Our book, which is called, because I hear this when people call me. The book is titled "Where Did My Money Go?"
Oh, I like that.
Because
Can I?
everybody's asking me. I don't care if they're making 100,000 or I got a client right now. I'm working with right now. She makes $1.4 million. Got 4 companies. Same thing. Where did my money go? So we're cash flow mapping. The concept is you have to tell your money where to go instead of asking where it went. Okay.
Oh,
So everybody's focused on investing, but the first rule of wealth is part of all you earn is yours to keep, right? From if you ever read The Richest Man in Babylon. So most people don't have it. I dare say most of your listeners or viewers don't have an income problem. They have a control problem. So their structure is bad, right? And so it deals with cash flow,
you know it all. You
right?
know it all.
Listen, I've
You
lived it. It's not
right
that
to
I'm
the
so
point.
smart.
Right to the point.
And I see a lot of people like you make money and so with the cash flow map, because see, here's what they do. We look at history. So budgets don't work. So when you're looking at your household budget or if y'all are business owners, your profit and loss, right?
Right.
That's looking at history, right?
Mhm.
So because when you get your P&L, it's like the 10th of the next month. Like my P&L for April will probably get from my accountant like what is it? So when we record this is like beginning of May, right? So maybe 2 weeks before I get it. Okay, that's last month. So you have to tell your money where to go. So when money hits your account, you've got to tell it where to go. So it needs to go towards, I would break it down. I have like 5 accounts. It's like, and it's similar to, or really, I got the idea from, so I like people to I like books, right? So to me, you need to figure this stuff out. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. He's got Profit First for
About this book.
real estate investors, Profit First for real estate agents. Okay, that I'm teaching to a real estate officer right now. And so what happens is you got to sort out, see if you don't, because see, all wealth is a product of free cash flow. All wealth is a
Uh-huh.
product of, it's a function of systems. So what's your cash flow system? But if you don't have free cash flow so that you can save 15, 20% or more of your gross income,
Mhm.
well, why can't you do that? See, if I look at you and you're not doing that, but you make 100 grand, $500,000, and you're not saving. So if somebody's making a $500,000, they should be saving at least $50,000 a year. That's 10%. But 50 is, so if you're not doing that, you either devalue savings, you don't really think it's important, or you put in the wrong stuff. You putting in SEPs and all these things that lock up your money. but you've
Right.
got to spend. It's really basic. What is the cash flow map? If your outflow is greater than your inflow, then
Hmm.
your upkeep becomes your downfall. So I stole that from a guy named Myron Golden. But you've got to control cash flow, right?
I
And
love it.
so
I love it.
you got to fix. So our cash flow map, we just break it down. I'm working with a client right now. It found me through a show,
Hmm.
and we probably has over $100,000 a month in revenue, but I did 4 maps for her because I had to break, they're all separate businesses.
Hmm.
But as the picture came together, one was making money, but not a lot of margin. And then, let's say at the end of the day, they had, out of $100,000 a month income, had maybe 13,000 to show for it, but
Oh,
they had $11,000 a month in debt.
wow.
So it was no net profit. But they had a
Right.
couple of other profitable businesses, but they were supporting the other one, right? And so, but you have to be clear. So I take the P&Ls and I put them in a forward facing tool called my cash flow map, and it allows us to analyze, because my premise, Stella, is that there is, and we start, so we have a 4-part process. The first step is cash flow control. We
Okay.
call it take the mystery out of money, right? And so telling your money where to go. So there's 2 things. Most money is lost by, number one, how to manage or don't manage cash flow. Okay. And because if you get money, you leave it all in one account, you're going to spend it, right? That's called bank book accounting. Oh, okay, I got money in the account, I guess I can do this, right? And you have
We
to,
feel good about it that we have that in the bank,
it's
but it's
good,
like,
but if you sit it all in one
oh, you
place,
see them.
yeah,
Right.
like your business will eat up all the money you give it if you leave it in there, right? So you have to segment it out. All right, I need a tax account because I got taxes I got to pay. I've got, here's the money for operations. You
Hmm.
need to set aside money for profit, for you taking the risk of owning your business, and you need to pay yourself, right?
That's
So because I do a personal map and a business map, because see, you need to know what your life cost, right? So if you need $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month, $5,000 a month, your business is supposed to supply that, because
hmm
what is the purpose of the business is to serve you, not the other way around, right?
absolutely.
And so you've got to make sure that you're generating enough revenue to support the life that you want, save and invest to generate new cash flow. But you've got to live. Y'all have families. You've got vacations you want to go on, right? And so all that stuff costs money. So, but you need to kind of figure that out. And what we don't do is look at them and say, okay, look, here's what my life costs, here's what the business got to generate. And so if it can't, that's
Hmm.
your business talking to you. You have a marketing problem, you have a sales problem, you have see, the numbers tell us financial literacy is accounting. And
Hmm.
so I find I can look at your numbers, because I'm looking at it as a strategist, I'm not a bookkeeper, right? I just look at it and say, okay, now, why is your income up and down?
Uh-huh.
Or okay, I'm paying this guy $2,000 a month for marketing. Well, what's the ROI on that? You got to look at your numbers and say, okay, I would talk to a realtor. They're paying some website. I said, well, how many leads have come in from that? Well, don't you think you could use that $250 a month somewhere else that would be more productive? So you have to, you've got to give your dollar a job, and then you have to, my other favorite talk, but I'm not going to go today, is marketing. But you've got to, marketing is not just throwing stuff out there hoping it comes back. I believe in direct response marketing. So you got to hold the money you spend accountable. But see, all that starts, Stella, with good bookkeeping. That's all
Absolutely.
that stuff comes from the cash flow map, right? And then
I
the other
love
part of
it.
that of section one, let me, before I forget it, is most people then they give their money away, transfers, right? Taxes,
Hmm.
paying, how you pay your mortgages, how you fund retirement plans, where you put your college funds, where non-preferred debt, and how you finance cars. There is more money lost in what I call wealth transfers than you'll
Hmm.
ever make trying to pick winning investments. So you can't outrun inefficiency, right? So we help people become more efficient.
I love it. I
So
love
I'm
it.
the defensive coordinator in their life, right? I'm the make sure you don't lose, make sure you're
You know what?
insured.
The way you explain It's so, oh my God, some people don't understand that. They don't know that they don't know. You know what I
Right.
mean? And when you have somebody like you telling them, like, step by step, that strategy, it's like opening up another,
It's
way.
really simple. See, people, I call it the financial industrial complex, right? Their goal is to make you think it's complicated because all their marketing in so many words says, give your money to us,
Yeah.
right? So
Let us use it.
let
What
us use
we
it,
have.
right? Let us charge you fees for 30 years. And because when you
Right.
get, see, this is why typical advice is bad for entrepreneurs, right? Because your goals are not aligned. Their objective is not to make you rich. They're not thinking in their war room, how can we make Stella rich? They have any time you look at a financial product, and products, by the way, are the last thing you should discuss, right?
Mhm.
It's principles,
Mhm.
which is how you think, right? Principles drive strategy. Strategy is what you do, and strategy drives tactics, right? Tactics are the products, financial products maybe, that you
Mhm.
buy that fulfill the strategy which execute the principle, right? So and anytime you get to a financial product, anytime somebody leads with a financial product, you need to run, right? Because if you don't know why, because products should be a result of your knowledge, not a substitute for it.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so it's got to fulfill on it, but you got to know. I got a meeting this afternoon. This person, she was doing this $17,000 a month on insurance and blah blah blah, and I don't think he did the right thing. Well, my first question to her when I get with her this afternoon, well, what were you trying to do?
Mm.
Forget about the product right now. What was the objective? What did
Yeah.
you
What
want
was
this
the
to do for
goal?
you?
Okay.
What's it for? Right? Even if you're, let's say you're working with investors, right? So one of the things, I'll beat up on a realtor for a second because
Okay.
sometimes y'all get too transactional, right? And so if you thought like a financial advisor, like financial advisors are selling mutual funds. So is to their
Sell
goal is
products.
assets under management, right? So they want you to have, that's what I call the accumulation theory. It really doesn't work. Like you have a better chance of helping them than they do
Mhm.
because, they're like, oh, I need $1 million or $2 million and they're saving for this number, right? But
Yeah.
a better number would be, could you buy 2 properties a year for the next 10 years that net you X? So if you knew, okay, based upon the area you're buying in, this is going to be my cash on cash return, it's going to be my net profit, then
Right.
the job as a realtor, if you thought long range, I'm going to get 10 or 20 people that will buy 3 houses a year from me
Mhm.
so that I can get them out the rat race in the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Strategic thinking.
You got to strategically
That's
think
smart.
but now instead of it being the stock market, the product is real estate.
I
The
see.
asset class is real estate, right?
Right.
That you're buying, you can buy with leverage, you get tax deductions. If you want $100,000 worth of stock, you need $100,000 or $1 million. But $1 million of real estate, the real answer is it depends, right? It depends on what you know. It depends on your leverage. It depends on your creativity. But
Right.
it depends. You don't need $1 million because you should never pay cash. So I think you really have the ability in your field to, if you thought that way, and I think if you work with investors, you already think that way. But I find so many people are just thinking about the next deal, but they're not saying, okay, listen, I'm going to help you build a portfolio that will get you to, let's say your goal is $10,000 a month. Could you get them to $10,000 or $20,000 a month with the product called real estate? I think you're better able to do that than the stock market person,
Amazing.
if they're willing to become, right? Because investing is not about buying something, it's really more about becoming something, right? So it's become, then
Okay.
do, then have, right? But most people don't want to become. That's why you got to sort out people, because they'd rather just give their money to the fund manager. And, so you're not looking for those people. You're looking for people that want to be in control of their money.
And you know what? Right now in my mind, I already have a couple of clients that actually they need you. They need you because this kind of a strategy that is gonna put them on the next level. And another thing, Curtis, there's a lot of people that near retirement or going through that transition right now. How can this strategy help them to ensure maybe not to overleave their assets?
Good question. Okay. So I haven't
That's
really even
what
talked
I
about,
know.
so I teach principles, right? So I don't, so retirement is a buzzword that everybody uses. Retirement, the the definition is an agricultural term that means to withdraw or to put out of use.
Correct.
So I ask people, is that what you want? You want to be put out of use, put out the pasture, right?
Uh-huh.
And so their goal, Stella, is really financial freedom, right?
Mhm.
So financial freedom is a capacity. So think about this. So retirement planning, this is old school financial advisor stuff, but is a three-legged stool. Pension, personal savings, social
Right.
security, right?
Correct.
So when people come to me with that and they're, let's say they're 50 something, well, it's like a GPS. Talk about the GPS earlier. Where are you now? Your present position, right?
Okay.
And where do you want to go? See, the GPS, you people say, oh yeah, I need to know where I want to go. Well, you got to know your current position now. And then you got to see, well, am I okay? Am I short? Can I, because you're not, if you're 55 and you're focused on the accumulation theory and you got, according to, I think it was either John Hancock or Vanguard, they did a study. The average 60-year-old has less than 200,000 in their 401k.
Oh,
So
that, okay.
that so if you wanted to, this is where the wake up call. So we take people through a little exercise that we have on our site when we do the financial GPS, is
Uh-huh.
retirement ready or not. So let's stress test this and see where you are, because think about this. So I was talked to a gentleman. He's making about 140 grand a year. Not super. He's doing okay. He's comfortable. And he had about 500,000 in his plan. He's about 57. And I
Okay.
said, "You think if you had $1 million, would you be okay?" Because he wasn't putting away enough money.
Mhm.
But even if he got to $1 million, I said, "Well, you make 140." I
Mhm.
said, "If you had $1 million," and I said, "Do you know what the safe withdrawal rate is?" He goes,
Mhm.
"No, what's that?" I says, "Well, 4%. That's what advisors, what they FINRA allows them. You can show 4, and let's bump it up to 5. So if you had $1 million at 5%, that would bring in $50,000 a year. So that's
Correct.
$4,000 a month, but you make 140.
Mhm.
So you're short. So now what are we going to do about it? Because see, there's no magic money boxes out there. I mean, so I'm not the miracle worker. I don't know, but I don't know. The I have some ideas, but the first step is awareness.
Mhm.
Because see, once you're aware, okay, now what do I do? Am I willing to learn something new? Maybe I need to learn how to buy assets that generate cash flow. Now they come back to you because I've got to learn how to do some different stuff, because I'm not going to be able to get $3 million in my qualified plan in the next 7 years. So you've got to look at,
The
because
whole
there's
thing.
really, you got to look at it. I'm very holistic, right? So one of the things you can do is you got to, I'm not in the lifestyle reduction business, right? So there's like three types of money. There's accumulated money, which is what
Okay.
most advice is focusing on, how much you got. And here's when you hear this, the they come to you and say, well, how much you got? Well, we can do better. We're cheaper. Our fees are lower. All the ers, right? But when you're in that conversation, the only person whose money is at risk is yours, because everybody's guaranteed to make money but you. Or there's lifestyle money, right?
Mhm.
So lifestyle is can't go to Starbucks,
Mhm.
you
Can,
know,
can go away.
vacations are out, you got to grow your own food and live in a sackcloth. I'm kidding about the second part. But and I'm not in a lifestyle reduction business. So if you call me, Curtis is not the party pooper, right? I I follow Dan Sullivan, and if you're an entrepreneur, Dan says you can't double your income until you double your time off. So you need to take twice as many vacations as you're taking now. So I try to go one vacation or one somewhere once a quarter. And so we've been doing that since I heard that. And so I've been doing that for the last 5 years. And you just got to plan it and then
Amazing.
budget for it, and you got to go. But when you go, because who motivates the motivator, right? So when I go, I'm up early, I work out, I go to the coffee shop, I got my journal and a book, and by the time I get back, my head's about to explode with all these ideas because I'm free to think. And I
Right.
come back fired up, and then I'm playing, all right, where are we going to go next? And so you have to do that. But the third type of money, I thought the other thing, the other half thing I left out there, but I'm gonna finish this one, is transfers. Right. So this is where I live. This is what we do at Practical Wealth. So a transfer is money that you're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily. So it's money leaving your checking account. For example, if you pay a tax you didn't have to pay, that's money leaving your checking account going to the Treasury Department, right? That's leaving unstructured, destructive debt. That's money leaving your checking account going to Amex, MasterCard, Visa, BMW financing, right? So, and 35 cents of every dollar leaves your house in the form of debt, 40% to taxes, right? So if you can get control of the transfers, so there's like, I mentioned them before, but it's how you pay mortgage taxes, how you fund retirement plans, how you pay for kids' education, and how you finance stuff. So if you can lower that and save the difference, you're halfway to the winner's circle without cutting back, without not going on vacation, without whatever. It's just awareness with somebody that knows how to identify this stuff, like me. No, just kidding. So, but because you really, what you have to do is you got to look at everything we've been taught is designed to make everybody else rich, the government rich, Wall Street rich. And so I call it your personal economy. So you really have to learn to deconstruct your personal economy. That's what we do at people. I want you to take it apart. We want to look at it. We want to identify the wealth transfers, reduce them, or eliminate them altogether. Right. And then now, if you can keep more of what you make, see, I want you to make more money, but if you got a bucket that you're trying to fill up and there's holes at the bottom of the bucket, you can't out invest that as soon as it comes. If you make $1 million, you spend $1 million, you're still broke, right? So you have to plug the holes. And so the premise of our book is, where did my money go? Is we plug the holes. That's step one. And look at where your money's going and make you aware, because then once you see it, you can't unsee it, right?
So first
Once
it's
you know how it
aware.
works.
Yeah, that's important. When you say aware, sometimes you don't realize, money just flow everywhere and you spending on this way, on that way. It's like, I'm planning to go away every month, and thank God I'm trying to keep my goals to at least mini vacations,
Right, right, right.
just to restart, to push that restart button. But you're right, there has to be some kind of awareness first, and then to have that strategy.
And it's a system. We give people a structure for cash flow, a financial GPS. We do a one pager, like plan. See, nobody has a working crystal ball, right? So I don't care about markets. What I care about is, what's your philosophy, right? So when money hits your account, are you managing cash flow, telling it where to go? And then we move into our principles, right? So our five, or we call it principle-based planning, which are, the principles are, real quick, and we can dig into them, or I'll just put them out there so that your listeners have them. Principle one is save, right? Let me define saving: safe, liquid, accessible, guaranteed. All right. So funding your 401k, putting money in crypto, that's not saving. That's investing.
I like that. Okay, that's
All
a good
right.
point,
It's a
because not everyone
difference.
understand that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a difference. Just separate. And if you really held my feet to the fire, I would say that's not even investing. Okay. It's, well, so, because
We're
people say,
going
oh,
deeper now. I like that.
yeah. So so I always ask the clients this. So I never like give straight answers. I always ask questions, right? And I'll say, well, have you heard of Warren Buffett? They go, yeah. I said, have you heard of Benjamin Graham? Maybe percent out of 100, right? So that was Warren Buffett's teacher, mentor. Okay. And so he has several books that are still out. If you go to especially a college bookstore, you'll see Security Analysis. What was the other book? It was like a Security Analysis. So The Intelligent Investor, Benjamin Graham.
Wow,
Okay.
wow. I like
And
all the books. I need to write
yeah,
them
I'm a
down.
book guy. So if y'all email me, I'll send you my book list. Right.
Amazing, amazing.
but I'm a nerd. I'm a money nerd. The
You're amazing. That's what I say. You know,
I tell
when
my kids I was a cool nerd. I
knowledge,
was also all city in basketball and I played college basketball, but I was still a nerd. And but the he says the sort of first chapter in the book is investing versus speculation. Now
hmm,
remember he's talking about the stock market, okay? And so he says an investment is something upon thorough investigation. So that
uh-huh,
leaves most people out right there. That you deploy your capital where you
correct,
have one, safety of principal. So you put in 50 grand, 100 grand, 10 grand. Your principal, which you put in, is safe. Okay. And you have a reasonable opportunity to make a profit. That's an investment, right? He says if it doesn't fit that criteria, you're speculating. So
right.
that's what I think about, right? So we teach the principles and the three rules of investing, right? So
Trust
I think
me.
what you do is more akin to that, right? There, you make money when you buy,
Yeah,
right? You make sure that it pencils out, and
yeah,
if it doesn't, you don't do it. If you're
yeah,
buying it hoping it appreciates, that's speculating. You're as bad as a trader. You're just trading. You're just trading with a different asset class, but you're not an investor because you're
correct.
still hoping. I mean, it's you can make money, but there's still risks, right? So you make money on the buy. Appreciation is a bonus. That's not the objective.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, but you're the expert. I'm the guest, right? So, but
Oh,
so here's the thing. I'm very silly too. The
I like that. I love your personality. You know, it's like,
Oh, I forgot my thought. So it's oh yeah, save. Let me just stay on the principles, right? So save 15% of your gross income. We talked about what
okay,
saving is.
okay,
Maximum protection. So when I take people through this analysis, especially for successful investors, business owners, high net worth, I mean, high income W2ers, what happens is they have little, like what I call financial junk drawers, right? They have a bunch of different, I got property insurance over here. I've got, my life insurance over here. I got my investment guy over here, but none of them are coordinated. They don't talk to each other,
uh,
right? So I act as the macro manager and coordinate them with a plan because so for example, here's one of the things I see. I had a client I was working with, young guy, had I don't know about $3 million worth of real estate, making he was still working a job. He had about 40 or $50,000 a year of income off of what he owned. So when I looked at his situation, all right, underinsured with life insurance, this is where it gets interesting. So nobody ever asked him about his car insurance, his homeowner's insurance, or his, do you have an umbrella policy, right?
uh,
So my principle, second principle is maximum protection. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I just want to get the concept out
yeah.
there
Make
of
sure that
playing defense, right? So he had with two kids and a wife, he had on his liability coverage on his car. Look, y'all get out and look at your deck page, right? So maximum is 250 bodily injury, right? 250 per person, $500,000 per occurrence. You should
correct.
have property damage over 100,000. You want the same in uninsured motorists, right? So if you or your spouse is at an at fault accident and you have like you're driving the general, you got 1530, 2550, and you hit somebody's Mercedes or somebody's hair hurt and they've out of work for 6 months or a year, or God forbid they die, all your what you've built is in the wind.
Absolutely.
And then Curtis, I got an LLC. So most of y'all are not even it's pierceable, right? You're not even you're not even observing the proper corporate formalities. So some of your lawyers are going to get through that. So your first line of defense is not your entity, your LLCs, it's
Yeah.
insurance, right? So I made them I said, listen, all right, you got about 2.5 million. I said, call because I'm licensed in it, but I don't do it. That's a specialty to me. I give it to somebody else, right? I said, call your guy and get a quote for $2 to $3 million of umbrella coverage,
Umbrella.
personal liability coverage, right? So you have to
Right.
play defense. So now if you hit somebody, you can back up and hit them again, right? Somebody falls on one of your properties. I'm joking, by the way. All right. So the but now If somebody falls on your property, you call the insurance company and say, hey, I got this claim. And now you set their lures on them.
So protection. Number
Protect
two is protection.
maximum protection. If you
Maximum.
have a fire, do you want half your house back or all your house? Right? Or your properties, right? If you're, let's say you're listening to this and you're 45, take whatever you make a year and multiply it by 20. That's how much life insurance. I won't say you should have. That's how much you can have if you're trying to leave a legacy, right? So we look at all that stuff. So I find there's like, you got to build what I call a moat around your castle, right? So that's defense. Okay. My third principle is forward placement of assets at death guaranteed. This fourth one, this is people don't, because they want to stay fully invested, but I want you to have 6 to 12 months of liquidity in the bank or some cash equivalent. I have a better place to store it than the bank, but just right now in the bank. And yeah, why? Because that gives you peace of mind. It gives you, if a deal comes up, because see, if you have money, opportunities will find you.
Ah, yes. I always say that the same way.
You don't even have to go looking; they'll find you. You have what I call the cash flow glow, right? You got opportunities to do. I got clients. They do private lending. They do notes. I mean, you don't have to be there. You could get on the other side and you could be the bank. You could do bridge loans,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you got to have the liquidity to do that,
Absolutely. Especially
right?
right now, it's like hard money loans. It's so common.
Yeah.
So keep
So
it
where do you
liquid.
get the money from? People that might have money sitting in their insurance policies, self-directed IRAs. They borrow it from them, add a couple points on it, boom,
Okay.
private lend.
Like, you know what, Curtis? I like the way you say, tell your money where to go instead of asking where it went. This is
It
powerful. This is
all starts
powerful.
there. That's the first step. Like you gotta, if you can't, that's what we do. Like I don't let anybody go any further because if you're making money, you don't know where it goes, or you're not profitable because you might be making 20 grand a month, but all right, you're spending 23. Well, you're losing money.
So where you, I mean, what's your advice? Where the first three places that investors should direct their money, their capital, or maybe like, to immediately stop that kind of a leakage?
So here are the thing. It depends on who I'm talking to, but the first place, I'll give you a couple of these ones. Stop sending extra money payments to your mortgage.
Aha, okay.
Now, you think on a real estate show I wouldn't have to say that, but you know,
Yeah, listen, you're right. You're right.
right.
I hear
So
you.
15-year notes, sending extra principal payments in this interest rate environment, that is all a complete waste of money.
Yeah,
Okay. You're
I
not
hear
trying to
you.
get out of debt. You got money. If you best you've had even at 6%, which y'all think is high, that's nothing. I grew up when rates were, I'm gonna date myself. When I was in high school, they were like 18, right? 12, 18.
Oh
And
my.
but
When I thought real estate, it was about in 2006. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah, and
It's
that was
more great
reasonable.
now. People just were being too spoiled to hear
Yeah.
this 2, three
So now they're
percent. Wow.
spoiled. You just got to make it work. But the thing is, but it's still, because here's the thing: when people pay extra on their mortgage, here's why I ask people. I say, listen, does paying extra on the mortgage make the value of the house go up? No.
No.
Okay. Does it make the payment go down?
Principle. No.
But not the payment.
Correct.
So now, do you have access to the principal or the equity that you're creating that you're trying to do? No, unless you have a HELOC or something, but you got to
Correct.
qualify for that. What if you don't qualify? So every time you pay extra on the mortgage, because y'all see what happens is people think the house is the asset. It is, but to the bank, what is it? It's
Property.
collateral. Their asset is the mortgage, right? So when you're paying extra on the mortgage, you're strengthening the bank's position,
Okay.
because if you pay it off too soon and then all of a sudden you get disabled or something happens and you can't make that payment, you just made yourself easier to foreclose on. See, so to me, if you had a $250,000 mortgage balance and $250,000 cash, that's debt free as far as I'm concerned. That's a balance sheet neutral decision. So if your business had a downturn and you were unable to work, if you got $250,000 cash, you can peel off a $3,000 a month mortgage payment till you get yourself together, right?
Yep.
Because if you paid a house off, okay, you're debt free, but you're broke now. You still got to light it, you got to heat it, you got to pay taxes on it, and you have no money, and now you don't have the ability to generate money. So what we do, it sounds good, but it's good for the bank. And I always tell people, I'll do this in workshops and say, repeat after me. What's good for the bank is
It's
bad for you. And so it's what's good for the bank is bad for you. So that's one. Like, look at that. Stop doing that. Look at your taxes. 93% of business owners overpay their taxes.
oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
the biggie. And especially if you're moving into a higher net worth. So I partner with a couple of tax strategists. So I diagnose it and then I get you over to the doctor, right? The right doctor, depending on where you're at. But that's the biggie. So we're just so many things that you can do, but you need a tax planner, right? So what's the difference? If you're taking your stuff to the guy after December 31st, you have a historian, you have a compliance person. It's too late to do any tax planning. Here's your
Mm,
stuff, put it in the right box. This is what you owe. Now, your
mm,
people are a little bit better because real estate's more tax favorable, but you could still do better with some
absolutely.
good strategy. But you need somebody like you should be, if you're not meeting with your person,
Every month?
if or worst case quarterly,
Okay.
quarterly is probably okay. But if you but monthly, listen, I look at my P&L like every week. So I'm anal like that. I like to see my money. Where's
You're
it
not
coming
the
from?
guy.
I need to, because I'm 100% commission. So I need to know, all right, what am I doing? Then it's like, all right, I'll get with new business owners or realtors. So listen, you have to look at your money like 90 days out. So you're looking at your commissions, but what's in your pipeline behind that? If you're in whatever business, right? And your marketing, where do you, it's a guy I follow, Daniel Priestley, leads, appointments, presentations, sales, right? So that's what generates it. And then revenue is a lag indicator. But that first part, if you don't do leads, make appointments and presentation, appointments, presentations, and then from that close sales, you have no revenue, right? And so if you're not, I don't care what business you're in, you have to be thinking about that
Mm,
3 months ahead, right? What am I doing? What can we do? What campaigns are we going to run? What's my reactivation campaign? Like, I am a maniac about that stuff. All right. And
I
so much
like
so
that.
that I'm doing a
I like that.
workshop next month. I'm starting like a mastermind just on business. It's local. It's not going to be online. It's going to be local to Philadelphia. And I want to get a group where I get with business owners and we just talk about how to make money.
I'm down for that. I'm down for that. I like that.
Come on down. Because I said, look, I'm creating the meeting I wanted to have, right?
Uh,
And where it wasn't about doing business with the government or getting government contracts. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. So I got early stuff from my dad saying, listen, one, boy, you'll never make any money working for somebody else. Okay. So I've heard that since I was 8.
good. The good.
Okay.
Of course.
And so I never got that go to school, get a good job talk. I went to school, but I was joking, say I don't
Yes,
tell my
time.
daughters. I have 3 daughters. I double major basketball and girls. That was my major. No,
Oh,
with a minor in business administration. But don't judge me. I was young. So,
you're so funny.
and then he also said, look, if you get in a bit, it takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. Now this came up because we were visiting some of his friends because we had a supermarket, right? And I would notice stores are open. We go by there a month later, they're closed. And I said, Dad, why these people keep going? I was like 10, right? Keep getting in, opening up businesses. It takes 2 to 5 years to build a business. A lot of times they have enough money to open up. They make a little money. They go buy a car. I mean, they don't you got to restock your store. You've got to,
Right.
you might be handling cash, but you're not making money yet because you haven't even got your investment back out.
Wow,
And
you
and
were only 10 at that time, and you already were thinking like
I had a good mentor. I had a good father. I had a good, I didn't know. I mean, yeah, I was a kind of a nerd. I was a kid that we had a store, so I would get change and I would literally I had a little jar, and I would count my. I was like Alex P. Keaton, if y'all know from Family Ties. I was like
Ah, okay.
a black Alex P. Keaton, right? But I used to count my money every day and stack it up. And
Wow.
when I got into the industry, I was so young, so I always had a shirt and tie because I
Mhm.
was 21, 22, so I had to look like I was 30 and married. So I
Oh,
was always I
so
was
it was
preppy,
the
right,
experience.
to get that point across. And I worked hard to be the best, like to know what I was doing, right? Because I was so young,
Okay.
people would challenge me. Fortunately, I assimilate and retain information very fast.
Good.
If y'all are familiar with it, I went to a mastermind and we did something called a Colby index. So there's Colby, there's DISC testing, there's Briggs Myers, all those kind of like cognitive tests. So
Wow.
if you're familiar with Colby, I'm a 7.544, but I'm a 7 fact find, right? Which
Amazing.
once I understood what that was, I was like, okay, well, that explains a lot since elementary school because I'm a nerd, I'll get interested in something in days now with the internet, but when I was a kid, weeks, I would find all these little obscure magazines, and within a 2 weeks
You're a
to a month,
genius.
I knew
You
everything I needed to know about this topic, right? And so as I got older, I found I could learn it, and then I could draw to you on a yellow pad.
wow. So
And
you,
so I
you got
leaned,
the hidden talents that you discovered.
yeah, and so I leaned into that from my business, and because what I find is teaching sells. So I'm a financial. I mean, I'm a financial strategist that helps people implement.
Uh-huh.
But if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. So I like teaching. So let me hit another one. So it's mortgage taxes, right?
Okay.
Uh, Too many of you are, I think, but you got to find something better to do. So don't do. We're not giving any advice. I don't know any of you on this call, so don't take anything we say as tax or financial advice, right? But I think you can overfund your retirement plans too soon. If you don't have like at least 3 months of your expenses,
Okay.
you don't have no business investing in anything.
Okay.
You can't afford to lose anything, right? So there's an order. And so my order is, and I draw this thing we call it a personal economic model. It's manage cash flow
Okay.
so that you can save. Like you got to manage your budget surplus so you can save. Save what? 15, 20% of your income. Three is protect. Got to play defense. You got to build a moat around your castle. And four is invest. So what people think is number one is really number four. If you want to build your house on rock that stands, that
Mhm.
withstands storms, because you can't have a plan that only works when the sun is shining. It's got to work no matter what. Up rates, down rates, death, disability, whatever. Your plan's still supposed to work. Your family needs your plan to get there. And so what we do is we kind of stress test it. What happens if you died? What happens if in you've got all this money in the stock market and then you retire? It's called sequence of returns risk. What happens if the market drops 25%? You're exposed to that. So we will kind of look at that and then stress test your plan to see if it works out. That's part of our financial GPS.
You have
Uh,
so many models. Wow. It's like,
yeah, I don't guess. We model it. I don't. We put it in the lab and say, "How does this work?" I don't guess. I don't hope. I don't. No. I don't have a working crystal
I
ball. So
have
we just got.
the clients that I will refer you to them, or meaning that them to you, they would be thrilled because I think you answered all these questions that they have then in their mind. Especially, some people are focusing on building the pipe of money, but when you're talking about focusing about the flow instead. So it's not like why is the flow more substantial strategy. It's about what's better for you, how you can that create that flow instead of just collecting them.
It's control, right? The key word, like if you look at our website, the word is who's in control of your money, right? And it should be you, right? And you need to want control. Those are one of my favorite movies
Mm-hmm.
uh, was with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman called The Replacements. It was a football movie, and if y'all watch that, y'all get this line. But he told Keanu to run this play, and he gave it to the other player. He says, "Well, I read." blitz coach. He says, listen, I don't want to hear that. I gave the ball to you. Winners want the ball, right? And so the next time he decided to keep it, he says, I wanted the ball. He said, winners do. So what to translate back to me to finances, you got to want the ball.
You
Like
want to
you want to
control,
control, you want to have responsibility. We want freedom, but we don't want responsibility. So it's freedom and responsibility. And you've got to decide, listen, if I'm going to win, it's up to me.
wow,
I don't care who's in office. I don't care what the market does. I don't care that we're at war or whatever. I can't control the economy.
but you can.
I can control my personal economy. You could control your personal economy, which is your production and consumption as a family unit or as a business unit. So you got to control what you could control and then stop whining. Stop, just man up. Damn it. No, I'm just
Right.
kidding.
Curtis, this is so powerful, and honestly, this is so necessary for my audience. I'm so happy that we had that conversation. And you know what? Your website, if you can just
Yeah,
mention.
so our site is the best way to, find out more of what I call the madness that is Curtis. Like, who is this crazy guy? But go to practicalwealth.net show. So if you go to YouTube and search or iTunes or wherever, and search the Practical Wealth Show, and then my links for if you want to go to Linktree on the site, if you'd like, I think it's an assessment we have on there. And also you could just schedule you say, well, no, I think I'd like to talk to this guy. You can just schedule a strategy session. You can go there and it'll put you on our calendar and we can talk,
Amazing.
if you're ready.
Definitely, I'm scheduling one. And it was amazing podcast and so much information, so much knowledge, so much value. And I'm glad to have you on my podcast, Stella's Top Sellers podcast. Hopefully,
Stella, I'm here to serve. So let me know. If you want me
I'm
back, I'm back. I got plenty more to say.
gonna make you back. I need you back with my, I need you to be with my people here.
Right. I got you. I got you. No worries.
Amazing. It was pleasure. It was pleasure. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. You too. Thank you
Okay,
guys.
bye-bye.
Guys, have a great weekend. And I hope you learned one or two things.
Oh, many things for sure. Thank you. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Stella Top Seller podcast. If building real wealth through real estate is your goal, this is your show. Subscribe and follow me on social media. I'm Stella Shalamova. Keep thinking bigger, investing smarter, and living the top seller mindset. Until next time.